The sound cut through the elegant restaurant like a siren. Not the polite kind of crying you can ignore. Not the brief tantrum of a tired child. This was something deeper. Something that made strangers stop mid-conversation and look away, because, witnessing it, felt like trespassing on private grief. A little girl sat in the corner booth near the floor-to-ceiling windows, her small body shaking with sobs that seemed too big for her 4-year-old frame. Her face was red and wet. Her hands clutched a stuffed rabbit that had been washed so many times it looked gray instead of white. And beside her sat a man who looked like he could buy the entire city block, but couldn't figure out how to stop his daughter from crying. His jaw was tight. His expensive suit somehow made him look more helpless. He reached toward her, whispered something, then pulled back. She cried harder. He tried offering her a tablet, a glass of juice, soft words that went nowhere. Nothing worked. The grief poured out of her in waves that made other diners shift uncomfortably in their seats and glance toward the exits. 20 minutes. It had been going on for 20 minutes. And in the back of the restaurant, balancing 3 plates on her left arm and 2 on her right, a waitress named Lila Torres stood frozen. She had been moving through her double shift on autopilot, exhausted from working her second job until 3 in the morning, but the sound of that little girl crying stopped her cold. Her feet ached. Her back throbbed. Her body screamed for rest. But something in her chest pulled her toward that corner booth. Something she couldn't name. Something that felt like fate. She didn't know yet that walking toward that crying child would change her life forever. She didn't know that the man sitting helpless in that booth was Dominic Vail, Billionaire, CEO. The kind of man whose face appeared on magazine covers and whose name made investors sweat. And she definitely didn't know that the little girl crying her heart out was hers. The daughter she gave birth to 4 years ago. The daughter she left at a hospital with nothing but a note and a prayer. The daughter she thought she'd never see again. But she was about to find out. Lila set down her tray at table 7 and wiped her hands on her apron. Her co-worker Jennifer grabbed her wrist as she passed. "Don't. That's Dominic Vail. He'll have you fired if you bother him." Lila glanced toward the manager, Vincent, who stood near the kitchen wringing his hands. He caught her eye and shook his head. The message was clear. Stay away. Don't make trouble. Let the rich man handle his own problems. But Lila had never been good at following rules when someone needed help. She walked toward the booth. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. As she got closer, she could see the little girl more clearly. Dark curls that caught the light from the chandelier above. A yellow dress with white flowers. Eyes swollen from crying. And that rabbit, held so tight its ears were crumpled. The father looked up as she approached. His eyes were gray and exhausted. Up close she could see the lines of stress around his mouth, the shadow of stubble on his jaw, the faint tremor in his hands. This was a man at the end of his rope. "Sir," Lila said quietly. "I'm sorry to interrupt." "Then don't," he replied. His voice was rough. Strained. Almost breaking. Lila should have walked away. Should have gone back to her tables and minded her own business. But she looked at the little girl and saw something that made her stay. The child wasn't looking at her father. She was staring past him at nothing. Lost in whatever pain had swallowed her whole. "What's her name?" Lila asked. The man's jaw tightened. He looked at her like he was trying to decide whether to answer or tell her to leave. "Sophia," he said finally. "Her name is Sophia." Lila crouched down beside the booth so she was at the child's eye level. The little girl's sobs hitched just slightly. Her wet eyes shifted toward this stranger with the soft voice. "Hi, Sophia," Lila said gently. "I'm Lila. I know you're sad right now. I know it hurts so much. And it's okay to cry." Sophia's breathing stuttered. The screaming dimmed to broken whimpers. "You miss your mom, don't you?" Lila whispered. The restaurant seemed to go quiet. Even the clinking of silverware and the murmur of conversation faded into the background. Dominic's face went pale. Sophia's crying changed. Became softer. More raw. More real. "It's okay to miss her," Lila continued. Her voice was steady and warm. "She loved you so much. And she would want you to know that it's okay to be sad. But she would also want you to know that you're not alone. Your daddy is right here. And he loves you more than anything in the whole world." Sophia's small body shook, but the screaming stopped. She looked at Lila with enormous brown eyes filled with tears. "Can I sit with you for a minute?" Lila asked. Sophia didn't answer. But she didn't say no either. Lila looked up at Dominic, silently asking permission. He stared at her for a long moment. Something passed between them. Something neither of them understood yet. Then he gave a slight nod. Lila slid into the booth beside Sophia. She didn't touch the child. Just sat there. Present. Calm. Real. "My mom went away when I was little too," Lila said quietly. "I didn't understand where she went. And it made me so angry and so sad. I cried a lot. Just like you." Sophia's breathing slowed. She clutched her rabbit tighter. "But you know what I learned," Lila continued. "I learned that the people who love us never really leave. They stay in our hearts. And when we remember them, it's like they're right there with us." Sophia turned her head slightly, looking at Lila more directly now. "Your mom is in your heart," Lila said, placing a gentle hand on her own chest. "Right here. Always." A tear rolled down Sophia's cheek. But she wasn't screaming anymore. She reached out one small hand and touched Lila's arm. The gesture was so simple. So trusting. It made Lila's eyes sting with tears. "That's right, baby," Lila whispered. "You're okay now." Dominic sat perfectly still. Watching this stranger work a miracle, he couldn't manage himself. His daughter, who had been inconsolable for weeks, was finally calming down. When Sophia leaned against Lila's side, something inside him cracked open. Something he'd been holding back since his wife died. Since the world fell apart and left him alone with a grieving child he didn't know how to comfort. "She just needs someone who understands," Lila said softly, looking up at Dominic. "Children this age don't fully understand death. They just know someone is missing. And they need to feel safe again." Dominic's throat worked as he swallowed hard. "I don't know how to give her that." "You're her father," Lila said. "You give her everything. But maybe right now she needs a little extra help. Someone who can be present in ways grief won't let you be yet." Sophia's crying had stopped completely. She sat curled against Lila, sucking her thumb, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. Lila stroked her hair gently. Instinctively. Like she'd done it 1,000 times before. "I don't even know your name," Dominic said. His voice was quieter now. Almost broken. "Grace." Lila paused. "Actually no. It's Lila. Lila Torres." "How did you do that?" Dominic asked. "How did you stop her from crying when I've tried everything for weeks?" "I just listened to what she was telling me. And I told her the truth. That it's okay to be sad. That she's loved. That's all any of us really need to hear." Dominic looked at his daughter. Then back at Lila. An idea was forming in his mind. Something desperate and impulsive and completely unlike him. But desperate times called for desperate measures. "Do you have children of your own?" he asked. Lila's expression flickered. Just for a second. Something painful crossed her face and then disappeared. "No," she said. "I'm not married. I don't even have a boyfriend. I work 2 jobs and barely keep my apartment." "What's your other job?" he asked. "I clean offices at night. From midnight to 6 in the morning. Then I come here." Dominic studied her. She looked tired, but there was a strength in her face that money couldn't buy. She had walked into a situation that terrified him and handled it with a grace that matched her name. Well, her fake name. He made a mental note of that. Grace. Why had she said Grace first? "How much do you make in a week?" he asked. Lila blinked. "That's kind of personal to me." "Answer the question," he said calmly while looking at her. "Between both jobs, about $600. Why do you ask?" Dominic pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. Then he looked at her again. His grey eyes intense. "I'll pay you $10,000 a week to take care of Sophia." Lila's mouth fell open. "What?" "Be her nanny, live in my home, take care of her, help her heal." "Sir, Dominic," he said. "My name is Dominic. Dominic. I'm just a waitress. I'm not a professional nanny." I don't have any special training or certifications, or you have something better, he said. You have whatever it was that just stopped my daughter from crying for the first time in 3 weeks. I'll pay for any training you need. You'll have your own room. Full benefits. Anything you want. Just say yes. Lila looked down at Sophia, who had fallen asleep against her shoulder. The child's face was finally peaceful. The restaurant around them had returned to normal. Conversations resumed. Silverware clinked. But in this booth, time felt suspended. Lila thought about her tiny apartment with the broken heater and the water stains on the ceiling. She thought about her aching feet and her empty refrigerator and the student loans she'd never be able to pay off. She thought about how she had always wanted to help people. To make a difference. This wasn't how she had imagined it happening, but life rarely went according to plan. When would I start? She asked. Tomorrow. Lila took a deep breath. She looked at Sophia's sleeping face. At Dominic's desperate eyes. At the fork in the road her life had just reached. Okay, she said. Yes. I'll do it. Dominic's shoulders sagged with relief. He reached across the table and shook her hand. His grip was firm. Warm. Real. Thank you, he said. And his voice cracked slightly on the words. Lila nodded. She didn't trust herself to speak. Because something in her chest was breaking open. Something she'd buried 4 years ago when she walked out of a hospital and left her newborn daughter behind. But she pushed that thought away. Locked it back in the vault where it belonged. This wasn't about her past. This was about helping a grieving child. That's all. Nothing more. At least that's what she told herself. Dominic carefully lifted Sophia from Lila's arms. The little girl stirred but didn't wake. He held her against his chest with a tenderness that made Lila's throat tighten. Come to this address tomorrow at 9 in the morning, Dominic said, while handing her a business card. The doorman will be expecting you. Lila took the card. The address was in Midtown Manhattan. One of those buildings that looked like it touched the clouds. Should I bring anything? She asked. Just yourself. We'll take care of everything else. He walked toward the exit carrying his daughter. Other diners watched him go. Whispered. Wondered. But Dominic didn't seem to notice. He only looked back once. Met Lila's eyes across the restaurant. And something passed between them again. That strange recognition. That pull. Then he was gone. Lila stood there for a long moment. Her hands were shaking. Jennifer appeared at her elbow. What just happened? Jennifer whispered. I don't know, Lila said. I honestly don't know. But she did know one thing. Her life had just changed. Completely. Irreversibly. And there was no going back now. She finished her shift in a daze. Collected her tips. Told Vincent she was quitting. He tried to convince her to stay, offered her more shifts, better hours even. But she just smiled and shook her head. By midnight she was standing in her cramped studio apartment, packing her few belongings into 2 battered suitcases. She didn't own much. Some thrift store clothes. A few books. A photograph of Mrs. Patterson, the foster mother who had been kind to her for 2 years before the state moved her to another home. Lila held the photo for a moment, remembering the woman's words. You've got a gift with children, Grace. Don't waste it. Mrs. Patterson had always called her Grace. Said it fit her better than Lila. That she moved through the world with a grace that defied her circumstances. Lila had liked the name. Had used it sometimes when she wanted to feel like someone else, someone better. She set the photo in her suitcase and kept packing. She barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes she saw Sophia's face. Heard her cries. Felt the weight of her small body leaning against her shoulder. She thought about Dominic's desperate eyes. Wondered what his home would be like. What his life was like. Rich people lived differently, she thought. She had cleaned their offices and seen their expensive furniture and abstract art, but she had never actually lived among them. The thought scared her a little. But the thought of saying no scared her more. At 8:30 the next morning Lila stood outside Russo Tower in Midtown Manhattan. She'd gotten the name wrong in her head. It wasn't Vale Tower. It was Russo Tower. She made a mental note. Dominic Russo. Not Dominic Vale. She needed to get that straight. The building stretched up into the grey morning sky. All glass and steel and wealth. She wore her best outfit. A green dress she'd bought at a thrift store and a coat that had belonged to Mrs. Patterson. She carried her 2 suitcases and tried not to look as nervous as she felt. The doorman was an older black man with kind eyes and a warm smile. He greeted her like she was expected. "You must be Lila Torres." "Yes," she said. "Mr. Russo told me to expect you." "Welcome." "Thank you," she said. He led her to a private elevator and used a key to activate it. "This goes straight to the penthouse. Top floor. Mr. Russo is waiting for you." The elevator ride felt endless. Lila watched the numbers climb. 30 floors. 40. 50. Finally the doors opened directly into an apartment that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park. The furniture was modern and expensive. Original art hung on the walls. Everything was white and grey and pristine. But what struck Lila most was how cold it felt. Beautiful but empty. Like a magazine spread. Not a home. Dominic appeared from a hallway. He was wearing dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He looked different without the suit jacket. Younger. More human. More real. "Lila," he said. "Thank you for coming." "Of course." He took her suitcases. "Let me show you to your room." He led her down a hallway past several closed doors. Her room was at the end. When he opened the door, Lila actually gasped. The room was bigger than her entire apartment had been. It had a queen-sized bed with white linens. A private bathroom with marble counters. Its own sitting area with a couch and a flat-screen television mounted on the wall. "This is too much," Lila said. "It's yours. Make yourself comfortable. Sophia is still sleeping, but she'll be up soon. My housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, usually comes in around 10. She'll help you get oriented. I need to go to the office for a few hours, but I'll be back this afternoon." "Wait," Lila said. "You're leaving me alone with Sophia already. You're her nanny now. And she trusts you. Yesterday proved that. But I don't know her routine, or what she likes. Mrs. Chen will help you." Dominic hesitated. Then added, "I trust you, Lila. I don't trust easily, but I watched you with my daughter yesterday. I know you'll take care of her." He left before Lila could respond. She stood in the middle of her new room feeling completely overwhelmed. This was insane. She was a waitress. A cleaning lady. She had no business being in a penthouse taking care of a billionaire's daughter. Then she heard it. A small cry from down the hall. Sophia was awake. Lila followed the sound to a bedroom decorated in soft pinks and whites. Sophia sat up in her bed, clutching her rabbit. Tears were already forming in her eyes. But when she saw Lila standing in the doorway, her expression changed. Recognition dawned. "You came back," Sophia whispered. "Of course I did," Lila said softly. "Remember, I promised." Sophia climbed out of bed and walked over to Lila. Reached up her arms. Lila's heart melted. She picked up the little girl and held her close. "Your daddy had to go to work, but he'll be back soon. How about you and me have some breakfast?" Sophia nodded against her shoulder. "So what do you like to eat for breakfast?" "Pancakes. But not the round kind. Daddy makes them round and they're boring." "What kind do you like?" she asked. "Animal shapes. Mom used to make them like animals." Lila's chest tightened. "Okay, animal pancakes it is. Let's see what we can do." They went to the kitchen together. It was enormous. All stainless steel appliances and granite countertops. Lila found pancake mix in the pantry and got to work. She poured the batter into rough shapes. A cat. A dog. Something that might have been a butterfly. Sophia sat at the counter watching, giggling when the shapes came out lopsided. "That one looks like a dinosaur," Sophia said, pointing. "Does it really? I was going for a horse." Sophia laughed. "It's a funny horse." Lila smiled. "Yeah, I guess it is." They ate breakfast together. Sophia told her about her stuffed animals. About her favorite cartoon. About how she used to go to the park with her mom and feed the ducks. Lila listened. Asked questions. letting the little girl talk. And slowly, carefully, a bond began to form. Mrs. Chen arrived at 10. She was a woman in her 60s with steel grey hair, pulled into a tight bun and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She studied Lila with obvious suspicion. "So you're the new nanny?" "Yes, ma'am, I'm Lila." Mr. Russo didn't mention he was hiring someone. It was kind of sudden. Mrs. Chen's eyes narrowed. Then she looked at Sophia, who was coloring at the kitchen table, humming to herself. "Content. She seems happy," Mrs. Chen said. "I haven't seen her this calm in months. I'm just trying to help." Mrs. Chen nodded slowly. "We'll see. Mr. Russo is a good man, but he's been through a lot. And that little girl has been through more than any child should. If you're here to help, then I'll support you. But if you're here for some other reason, I'm not," Lila said firmly. "I'm here for Sophia. That's all." Mrs. Chen studied her for another long moment. Then she turned and started putting away groceries. Over the next few hours, Mrs. Chen showed Lila the routines. Sophia's nap time. Her favorite books. The park she liked to visit. The pediatrician's number. The emergency contacts. Everything Lila needed to know. And slowly Lila began to understand the shape of this new life. Sophia napped in the afternoon. Lila sat in the living room staring out at Central Park and trying to process everything. 24 hours ago she'd been a waitress barely scraping by. Now she was living in a penthouse making $10,000 a week. It felt like a dream. The kind you wake up from and find yourself back in your cramped apartment with the broken heater. But it wasn't a dream. Dominic came home at 6. Earlier than Lila expected. Sophia heard the door and went running. "Daddy." He caught her and lifted her up. His whole face transformed when he smiled at her. All the hardness melted away. All the stress and exhaustion. There was only love. "What did you do today, my princess?" "Lila made me animal pancakes, and we went to the park, and we saw ducks. And I also drew you a picture." She wriggled down and ran to get her drawing. Dominic walked over to where Lila stood. "Thank you," he said quietly. Softly she asked, "For what?" "For being here. For making her smile. I haven't seen her this happy in months." "You're welcome." He studied her face. "How are you settling in? Is the room okay? Do you need anything?" "Everything's perfect. More than perfect." "I still can't believe this is real." "It's real," Dominic said. "And I'm grateful you said yes." Sophia came running back with her drawing. It was a stick figure family. A tall man. A little girl. And a woman with brown hair. "That's you, Daddy," Sophia said, pointing. "That's me. And that's Lila." Dominic looked at the drawing. Something flickered in his eyes. Then he smiled and kissed Sophia's forehead. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. I'll put it on the fridge." Later, after Sophia was in bed, Dominic asked Lila to stay up and talk. They sat in the living room. Dominic poured himself a whiskey. Offered one to Lila, but she declined. She didn't drink. "I need to know more about you," Dominic said. "I hired you on instinct, which isn't like me. But if you're going to be part of Sophia's life, I should know your story." Lila had expected this. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Start from the beginning." So she told him. About being born to a teenage mother who couldn't care for her. About the foster system that had been her only family. About kind homes and cruel ones. About moving every year or two. Never staying long enough to put down roots. About aging out of the system at 18 with no money and no support. About working her way through community college while waiting tables. About dropping out when she couldn't afford tuition. About the years of just surviving. One day at a time. Dominic listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You could have become bitter," he said finally. "Most people would have. I thought about it. But bitterness doesn't change anything. It just makes you smaller. How did you learn to be so wise?" Lila laughed softly. "I'm not wise. I just know what it feels like to hurt. And I don't want anyone else to feel that way if I can help it. Especially not a 4-year-old girl who just lost her mother." Dominic set down his glass and came to sit beside her on the couch. Not too close, but close enough that she could smell his cologne. Something expensive and subtle. "Tell me about Sophia's mother," Lila said. "If that's okay." Dominic's expression tightened. Her name was Isabel. She was beautiful. Kind. She came from old money. One of those families that's been wealthy for generations. But she wasn't snobbish. She loved fiercely. And when Sophia came into our lives, that girl became her whole world. "What happened?" she asked. "Car accident. 6 months ago. Drunk driver crossed the center line. She died instantly." Lila's chest ached. "I'm so sorry." Dominic's voice roughened. "I don't know how to live without her. I throw myself into work because at least there I know what I'm doing. But when I'm here in this apartment, I see her everywhere. I hear her voice. And it kills me that Sophia is growing up without her." "Sophia isn't growing up without love," Lila said firmly. "You love her. That's what matters." "Is it enough?" he asked. "Love is always enough. Everything else we figure out as we go." Dominic looked at her, really looked at her. And Lila felt something shift in the air between them. It wasn't attraction. Not yet. It was recognition. Two people who had both known loss. Both learned to survive. Both understood that life didn't give you what you wanted, but you kept going anyway. "I'm glad you're here, Lila." "So am I." The days turned into weeks. Lila settled into a routine with Sophia. They woke at 7. Had breakfast together. Spent the morning playing or reading. After lunch and a nap, they went to the park if the weather was nice. Lila taught Sophia new words. Simple songs. How to count to 20. The little girl was smart. She soaked up everything like a sponge. And slowly Sophia began to heal. She still had sad moments. Still cried for her mother sometimes. But the inconsolable grief had eased. She laughed more. Played more. Trusted more. Mrs. Chen warmed to Lila completely. The two women worked together easily, taking care of the house and Sophia. Mrs. Chen taught Lila how to cook Dominic's favorite meals. "Nothing fancy," Lila said. "I can make spaghetti and chicken, and that's about it." "That's all a family needs," Mrs. Chen replied. "Good food made with love." Dominic started coming home earlier. One Thursday he arrived at 5 in the afternoon, surprising them all. Lila and Sophia were in the kitchen making cookies. Sophia's face and apron were covered in flour. She was giggling as Lila pretended the cookie dough was trying to escape. Dominic stood in the doorway just watching. Lila didn't notice him at first. She was too focused on Sophia. On making the little girl laugh. When she finally looked up and saw him, she startled. "You're home early. I wanted to see Sophia before bedtime for once." He walked over and kissed the top of his daughter's head. "What are we making?" "Chocolate chip cookies," Sophia announced proudly. "Lila says we can't eat the dough because we'll get tummy aches, but I already ate some and I feel fine." Dominic raised an eyebrow at Lila, who shrugged sheepishly. "One small bite won't hurt." "Daddy, do you want to help?" Sophia asked. Dominic looked at his expensive clothes. Then at his daughter's hopeful face. "Sure, princess. Let me change first." He returned 5 minutes later in jeans and a t-shirt. Lila tried not to stare. She had only ever seen him in suits. He looked younger like this. More relaxed. More real. They worked together. Sophia ordering them around like a tiny general. When the first batch came out of the oven, they all sampled the warm cookies. Dominic declared them the best he'd ever tasted. "Really?" Lila asked skeptically. "Really. Although maybe I'm biased because I helped make them." After Sophia went to bed, Dominic asked Lila to stay up for a while. They sat in the living room with coffee. The comfortable silence of people growing used to each other. "She's doing so much better," Dominic said. "I can't thank you enough." "You don't have to keep thanking me. This is my job. And honestly, it doesn't even feel like a job. Sophia is easy to love. Still. You've given her something I couldn't. You've given her joy again." Lila stirred her coffee. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why do you work so much?" I mean, I understand you have a company to run, but Sophia needs you too. Dominic's jaw tightened. For a moment Lila worried she'd overstepped. Then he sighed and leaned back against the couch. Because when I'm working I don't think about Isabel. I don't think about how I lost her. How it should have been me in that car, not her. She was coming home from an event for my company. If I hadn't asked her to go she would still be alive. You can't think like that, Lila said gently. You can't blame yourself for an accident. Can't I? I do every day. And being in this apartment where we lived together. Where she decorated every room. Where I can still smell her perfume sometimes. It's too hard. At the office I can pretend. I can be the person everyone expects me to be. Strong. In control. But you're not, Lila said. And that's okay. You don't have to be strong all the time. You lost your wife. You're allowed to grieve. Dominic's eyes met hers. How do you do it? How do you stay so positive after everything you've been through? I don't always. Some days are hard. Some days I wonder why I keep trying. But then I think about the alternative. Giving up. Letting the hard things win. And I decide that's not who I want to be. I want to be someone who keeps going. Someone who helps other people keep going too. You're remarkable. I'm really not. I'm just stubborn. Dominic laughed. The sound surprised them both. Maybe that's the same thing. They talked for another hour. About everything and nothing. Lila told him about her favorite books. He told her about growing up in his family. About the pressure to succeed. About his father who had built the company from nothing and expected Dominic to do even better. When Lila finally went to her room she felt lighter somehow. Like a weight had been lifted. She was starting to understand Dominic. Starting to see past the cold exterior to the hurting man underneath. And she suspected he was starting to understand her too. But there was something else. Something she hadn't told him. Something she couldn't tell him. Because every time she looked at Sophia she felt it. That nagging sense of familiarity. The shape of her eyes. The curve of her mouth. The way her hair curled at the edges. Lila tried to push the thoughts away. Tried to tell herself it was just coincidence. Lots of children had brown eyes and dark curls. But the feeling wouldn't go away. One afternoon at the park Sophia said something that made Lila's blood run cold. When's my birthday, Lila? Lila's heart started pounding. I don't know, sweetheart. When is it? April 7th. I'm going to be 5 soon. Daddy says we're going to have a big party. April 7th. The words echoed in Lila's head. Over and over. April 7th. 4 years ago. Lila felt dizzy. She sat down on the park bench. Tried to breathe. Are you okay? Sophia asked. You look funny. I'm fine, baby. Just a little tired. But she wasn't fine. Because April 7th 4 years ago was the day Lila gave birth. At St. Catherine's Hospital. To a baby girl she held for 5 minutes before handing her to a nurse and walking away. It couldn't be. It was impossible. That night after Sophia was asleep Lila knocked on Mrs. Chen's door. The housekeeper answered in her nightgown looking surprised. Lila. Is everything all right? Can I ask you something? Of course. Come in. Lila stepped into the small room. Mrs. Chen had worked for the family for years. She lived in a suite on the same floor. Smaller than Lila's room but comfortable. Where was Sophia born? Lila asked. Her voice was shaking. Mrs. Chen frowned. St. Catherine's Hospital. Why? And her mother? Isabel. Was Isabel Sophia's biological mother? Mrs. Chen's expression changed. She looked at Lila with sudden understanding. Or maybe suspicion. No, Mrs. Chen said slowly. Isabel adopted Sophia when she married Mr. Russo. Sophia was about a year old then. Mr. Russo is her biological father but her mother. Her birth mother. She left Sophia at the hospital. Just walked away. Lila felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. Did they ever find her? The birth mother? No. She was untraceable. All they had was a note. What did the note say? Mrs. Chen studied her. Why are you asking about this? Please, Lila whispered. What did it say? Mrs. Chen hesitated. Then she said, please give her a good life. Please love her. That's what the note said. Mr. Russo showed it to me once. He keeps it in his study. Lila couldn't breathe. Those were her words. The exact words she'd written on that note 4 years ago when she left her baby at St. Catherine's Hospital. Sophia was her daughter. Her daughter. The room spun. Lila grabbed the doorframe to steady herself. Lila, what's wrong? Mrs. Chen asked. Nothing. I have to go. She stumbled back to her room. Locked the door. Sat on the floor with her back against the wall. Her whole body was shaking. Sophia was hers. The baby she gave birth to. The baby she abandoned. The baby she thought she'd never see again. And Dominic. Dominic was the father. The man from that hotel bar 4 years ago. The man who'd been drunk and grieving and desperate for connection. The man who'd slept with her and disappeared. Left cash on the nightstand like she was nothing. Lila pressed her hands to her face and tried not to scream. How had this happened? How had fate brought her back to the daughter she'd abandoned and the man who'd forgotten her? She pulled out her phone. Googled Dominic Russo. Found articles. Photos. His company. His life. There. A wedding announcement from 3 years ago. Dominic Russo marries Isabel Montgomery. The photos showed them on their wedding day. Dominic in a tux. Isabel in a white gown. And between them, a tiny flower girl in a pink dress. Sophia. Lila read the caption. The couple celebrated with Russo's daughter Sophia, who was just a year old. It was true. All of it. Lila had given birth to Sophia. Left her at the hospital. Dominic had somehow ended up with her. He'd raised her. Married Isabel. Built a family. And now Isabel was dead and Lila was here. Living in their home. Taking care of the daughter she'd abandoned. It was too much. Too impossible. Too cruel. Lila lay on the floor and cried. Silent sobs that shook her whole body. She cried for the girl she'd been 4 years ago. Terrified and alone and convinced she had no choice. She cried for the daughter she'd given away. She cried for the life she could have had if she'd been braver. Stronger. Better. And she cried because she didn't know what to do now. Should she tell Dominic? Should she tell Sophia? Should she run? She didn't know. She didn't know anything except that her heart was breaking. The next morning Lila went through the motions. Made breakfast. Played with Sophia. Went to the park. But everything felt different now. Every time she looked at Sophia she saw herself. Saw the truth. This was her daughter. Her baby. The one she'd abandoned. And Sophia had no idea. Dominic came home early again. He found Lila in the kitchen staring out the window while Sophia napped. Are you okay? He asked. You seem distracted. I'm fine. Lila. He stepped closer. What's wrong? She turned to look at him. Really look at him. And suddenly she saw it. The resemblance. Sophia had his nose. His chin. His grey eyes. How had she not seen it before? When is Sophia's birthday? Lila asked. Dominic frowned. April 7th. Why? Where was she born? St. Catherine's Hospital. Lila, what is this about? And her mother. Her biological mother. Who was she? Dominic's face went pale. Why are you asking me this? Lila's hands were shaking. Answer the question. I don't know who she was. She left Sophia at the hospital. I got a call from a lawyer 2 months later. They'd run a DNA test. Sophia was mine. The mother was gone. Did you try to find her? Of course I tried. But there was nothing. No name. No address. Just a note. Lila's voice broke. And what did the note say? Dominic stared at her. His eyes narrowing. Please give her a good life. Please love her. Why, Lila? Why are you asking about this? Because I wrote that note. The silence that followed was deafening. Dominic didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at her like she'd spoken in a language he didn't understand. "What?" he finally whispered. Lila's tears spilled over. "I wrote that note 4 years ago. At St. Catherine's Hospital. I gave birth to a baby girl on April 7th. And I left her there because I had nothing. No money. No family. No way to take care of her. I thought she'd be adopted. I thought I'd never see her again." Dominic took a step back. You're Sophia's mother." "Yes. And I'm the father." "Yes." Dominic's face drained of all color. "That night. That hotel. 4 years ago. That was you." Lila nodded. "You don't remember?" "Of course you don't. I was nobody. Just another girl you slept with and forgot." "I didn't forget," Dominic said. His voice was raw. "I didn't. I didn't know. I didn't know you were pregnant. I didn't know." "You left cash on the nightstand," Lila said. $500. Like I was a prostitute." "That's not." "I was drunk. I was grieving. My father had just died and Dominic stopped, pressed his hands to his face. "Oh God. Oh God, this can't be real." "But it is," Lila said. "Sophia is our daughter. Yours and mine. And I've been living here for weeks taking care of her and I didn't know. I swear I didn't know until yesterday." Dominic looked at her. His eyes were wild, disbelieving. "You didn't know?" "No. I saw her at the restaurant and something felt familiar, but I didn't put it together until Sophia told me her birthday. Until I asked Mrs. Chen where she was born." Dominic sank into a chair, put his head in his hands. I can't process this." "Neither can I," Lila whispered. They sat in silence, the weight of the revelation crushing them both. Finally Dominic looked up. "Does Sophia know?" "No." "Are you going to tell her?" "I don't know. I don't know what to do." Dominic stood, paced the kitchen. "You left her. You walked away." "I know. You abandoned her." "I know," Lila said, her voice breaking. "I know what I did. And I've lived with that guilt every single day for 4 years. But I was 19. I was alone. I was terrified. And I thought I was giving her a chance at a better life. By leaving her in a hospital." "Yes," Lila shouted. "Yes. Because what else was I supposed to do? Keep her? Raise her in poverty? Let her grow up the way I did? Moving from place to place? Never having enough? Never being wanted?" "She could have been wanted," Dominic said. "You could have." "I couldn't," Lila cried. "I couldn't even take care of myself. How was I supposed to take care of a baby?" Dominic stopped pacing, looked at her, and for the first time she saw something other than anger in his eyes. She saw pain, confusion, maybe even understanding. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I'm sorry you went through that alone. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I'm sorry I didn't even know." Lila wiped her eyes. "What do we do now?" "I don't know," he said. "Do I leave? Do I tell Sophia? Do I—" "No," Dominic said quickly. "Don't leave. Please. Sophia needs you. She's finally happy again. Finally healing. If you leave now it'll destroy her. But I can't stay here pretending." "Then don't pretend." Dominic took a breath. "We tell her the truth. When she's ready. When the time is right. But for now we figure this out. Together." Lila looked at him. This man who was a stranger and the father of her child all at once. "Okay," she whispered. "Together." But even as she said it she didn't know if together was possible. Because the truth was too big. Too complicated. Too painful. And somewhere down the hall their daughter slept. Innocent and unaware that her entire world was built on secrets and mistakes and a love that hadn't existed 4 years ago, but was somehow growing now in the spaces between the pain. Lila didn't know what would happen next. She only knew that leaving wasn't an option. Not this time. This time she would stay. Even if it broke her. The morning after the truth came out, Lila woke up with swollen eyes and a headache that felt like her skull was splitting open. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Dominic's face when she'd told him. The shock. The anger. The confusion. She replayed the conversation over and over until the words lost meaning and became just sounds echoing in her head. She forced herself out of bed. Washed her face with cold water. Stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. The woman looking back at her seemed like a stranger. How had she ended up here? Living in the home of the man she'd slept with 4 years ago. Taking care of the daughter she'd abandoned. It was too surreal. Too impossible. But it was real. And she had to face it. She found Dominic in the kitchen already dressed for work. He was making coffee. His movements were stiff. Mechanical. He didn't look at her when she walked in. "Good morning," Lila said quietly. "Morning." The silence stretched between them. Awkward and heavy. "Is Sophia awake?" Lila asked. "Not yet." More silence. Dominic poured himself a cup of coffee. Took a sip. Finally looked at her. "I didn't sleep," he said. "Me neither. I kept thinking about that night. 4 years ago. Trying to remember details. Your face. Your voice. And I do remember. Not everything but pieces. You told me your mother abandoned you. You said you'd never felt like you belonged anywhere." Lila's throat tightened. "I can't believe you remember that. I was drunk, but I wasn't that drunk. And you. You seemed so sad. I think that's why we." He stopped. Shook his head. "It doesn't matter now." "It does matter," Lila said. "We made a child together. That matters." Dominic set down his coffee cup. "I need you to understand something. When I got that call from the lawyer telling me I had a daughter, I was terrified. I'd just lost my father. The company was a mess. I was barely holding it together. And suddenly I had this baby. This tiny helpless human who needed me. What did you do? I hired a nanny. The first of many. None of them lasted more than a few months. Sophia was difficult. She cried all the time. Wouldn't bond with anyone. The doctors said she was fine physically but emotionally. They said she was struggling with attachment. That she needed stability. Love. And then you met Isabel." Dominic nodded. "A year later. At a charity event. She saw me with Sophia and she fell in love with her. With both of us, I think. She didn't care that Sophia wasn't biologically hers. She became her mother in every way that mattered." "I'm glad," Lila said. "I'm glad Sophia had that. Had her." "Isabel would have wanted to meet you," Dominic said. "She always wondered about Sophia's birth mother. Always said she wished she could thank her." Lila felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't deserve thanks." "Maybe not. But you deserve to know that your daughter was loved. Is loved." They heard small footsteps in the hallway. Both of them tensed. Sophia appeared in the doorway. Rubbing her eyes. Holding her rabbit. "Lila," she said. "You're awake." Lila knelt down and opened her arms. Sophia ran to her. Climbed into her lap. And Lila held her daughter. Really held her. Knowing the truth now. Feeling the weight of it. "Did you have good dreams?" Lila whispered. "I dreamed about the park. And the ducks. Can we go today?" "Of course we can." Dominic watched them. His expression unreadable. Then he grabbed his briefcase and headed for the door. "I have meetings all day," he said. "I'll be home late." "Okay," Lila said. He paused in the doorway. Looked back at them. "We'll figure this out," he said. "I promise." Then he was gone. The next few days were strange. Dominic avoided her. Came home after Sophia was asleep. Left before she woke up. They communicated through text messages and notes left on the kitchen counter. Lila tried to focus on Sophia. On being present. On not letting the truth consume her. But it was hard. Every time she looked at Sophia, she saw the baby she'd held for 5 minutes. The baby she'd kissed goodbye. The baby she'd thought she'd never see again. And now here she was, talking and laughing and calling Lila her favorite person in the whole world. It was beautiful and devastating all at once. Mrs. Chen noticed the tension. She cornered Lila one afternoon while Sophia was napping. "What happened between you and Mr. Russo?" she asked. "Nothing. Don't lie to me. I've worked for this family for 10 years. I know when something's wrong." Lila took a breath. "It's complicated. Is he treating you badly? Because if he is..." "No. He's not. It's just... we're working through something. Something from the past." Mrs. Chen studied her. "Does this have to do with Sophia's birth mother?" Lila's silence was answer enough. Mrs. Chen's eyes widened. "Oh. Oh my God. You're her." Lila nodded. "Does Mr. Russo know?" "Yes." "And Sophia?" "Not yet." Mrs. Chen sat down heavily. This is unbelievable." "I know. How did this happen? How did you end up here?" "I didn't know," Lila said. "I swear I didn't know until a few days ago. I took this job because I wanted to help a grieving child. I had no idea she was mine." Mrs. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached over and squeezed Lila's hand. "That little girl is lucky to have you. Whether she knows it or not." "I'm the one who's lucky," Lila whispered. "I get a second chance I don't deserve. Everyone deserves a second chance." A week after the revelation, Dominic finally came home early. He found Lila and Sophia in the living room building a fort out of blankets and pillows. "Daddy," Sophia shrieked. "Come look at our fort." Dominic smiled. "It's very impressive. You have to come inside. It's the rule." He glanced at Lila, who shrugged. She'd learned not to argue with Sophia's rules. Dominic crawled into the fort. It was cramped. The three of them squeezed together under the blankets. A flashlight casting shadows on the makeshift ceiling. "This is the best fort ever," Sophia declared. "I agree," Dominic said. They sat there for a while, playing pretend. Sophia narrating some elaborate story about dragons and princesses. And for a moment it almost felt normal. Like they were a real family. After Sophia went to bed, Dominic asked Lila to talk. They sat on the terrace overlooking the city. The night air was cool. The lights below sparkled like stars. "I'm sorry I've been avoiding you," Dominic said. "I just needed time to process everything." "I understand. But that's not fair to you. Or to Sophia. We need to be on the same page. Need to figure out what happens next." "What do you want to happen?" Lila asked. Dominic was quiet for a moment. "I want Sophia to be happy. That's all I've ever wanted. And she's happy with you. Happier than she's been since Isabel died. So I think we need to tell her the truth." "When?" "Soon. But we need to do it right. She's been through so much loss already. We can't just drop this on her without preparation." "How do we prepare a 4-year-old for something like this?" "I don't know. Maybe we talk to her therapist first. Get professional advice." "Sophia has a therapist. Since Isabel died. Dr. Martinez. She specializes in childhood grief. Maybe she can help us navigate this." "Okay. That makes sense." Dominic looked at her. "And Lila, I need to know. What do you want? Do you want to be part of Sophia's life long term? Or is this just temporary?" Lila's heart raced. "I want to be part of her life. If you'll let me. I know I don't have any legal rights. I know I gave those up when I left her. But if there's a chance, any chance, I want to be her mother. In whatever way she'll have me. Even if that means staying here. Living this complicated, messy situation. Even then." Dominic nodded slowly. "Okay. Then we do this together. We tell her the truth. And we figure out how to be. Whatever we need to be. For her." "Co-parents," Lila said. "Yeah. Co-parents." They sat in silence for a while. The word hung between them. Co-parents. It sounded so formal. So distant. But maybe that's what they needed to be. At least for now. What was she like? Lila asked suddenly. Isabel. Dominic's expression softened. She was light. That's the best way I can describe her. She made everything brighter just by being in the room. She loved art and poetry and classical music. She volunteered at homeless shelters and animal rescues. She believed people were fundamentally good even when the world gave her every reason not to. She sounds amazing. She was. And she loved Sophia so much. From the moment she met her. She used to say that Sophia chose her. Not the other way around. Lila felt tears slide down her cheeks. I'm glad Sophia had her. I'm so glad she knew that kind of love. Isabel would have liked you, Dominic said. She would have understood. About why you left. About how hard that must have been. You think so? I know so. She was the most compassionate person I've ever met. She taught me. He stopped, swallowed hard. She taught me how to forgive. How to see beyond the surface. How to love without conditions. You must miss her so much. Every day. Every single day. They sat together in the darkness. Two broken people trying to build something whole from the pieces of their shattered lives. The next day, Dominic arranged a meeting with Dr. Martinez. Lila was nervous. She'd never been to therapy before. Didn't know what to expect. Dr. Martinez's office was warm and inviting. Filled with plants and soft lighting and comfortable furniture. The doctor herself was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Thank you for coming, she said. Dominic has filled me in on the situation. I have to say, in 20 years of practice, I've never heard anything quite like this. Is that bad? Lila asked. Not at all. Just unusual. But let's talk about Sophia. How is she doing lately? She's doing really well, Dominic said. Since Lila started working with us, she's been happier. More engaged. The nightmares have mostly stopped. That's wonderful. And how are the two of you handling this revelation? Honestly, Lila said. It's overwhelming. I look at Sophia and I see the baby I gave away. And I feel so much guilt. So much regret. But also so much love. It's like my heart is breaking and healing at the same time. That's very normal, Dr. Martinez said. You're grieving the time you lost while also trying to be present for the time you have now. That's a difficult balance. How do we tell her? Dominic asked. How do we explain that Lila is her birth mother without confusing her or making her feel abandoned all over again? Dr. Martinez leaned back in her chair. Children Sophia's age understand more than we give them credit for. She already knows that Isabel was her mother. She knows that some children have birth mothers and adoptive mothers. The key is to frame this as an addition to her story. Not a replacement. An addition, Lila repeated. Yes, you're right, he said. You're not taking Isabel's place. You're simply filling in a missing piece. Sophia has a right to know where she came from. Who her birth mother is. And she has a right to have a relationship with you if she wants one. What if she doesn't want one? Lila whispered. What if she's angry? What if she feels like I abandoned her? Then we work through those feelings together. But I don't think that will happen. Sophia is already bonded with you. She trusts you. Loves you. When she learns the truth, it will probably make sense to her in a way it doesn't to us adults. When should we tell her? Dominic asked. Soon. Within the next week or two. The longer you wait, the harder it will be. They left the office with a plan. They would tell Sophia together. Use age-appropriate language. Reassure her that nothing would change. That she was loved. That this was a good thing. But knowing the plan and actually executing it were two different things. That evening Lila sat in Sophia's room watching her play with her dolls. The little girl was narrating an elaborate story. Making up voices for each character. Lila's heart ached. This beautiful perfect child was hers. And she'd missed so much. The first smile. The first word. The first steps. All the tiny moments that made up a life. But she was here now. And that had to be enough. Sophia looked up and caught her staring. Why are you sad, Lila? I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just thinking. About what? About how lucky I am to know you. Sophia smiled. I'm lucky too. You're the best. Lila pulled her into a hug, breathed in the scent of her strawberry shampoo, felt her small heartbeat against her chest. I love you, Lila whispered. I love you too. It was the first time Sophia had said it, and it broke something open inside Lila, something that had been locked away for 4 years. She cried that night, alone in her room. Silent sobs that shook her whole body. Cried for everything she'd lost and everything she'd found. Cried because love was more painful and more beautiful than she'd ever imagined. 3 days later they told her. They sat Sophia down in the living room. The 3 of them on the couch. Sophia in the middle. Sensing something serious. Am I in trouble? She asked. No, baby, Dominic said. Not at all. We just need to talk to you about something important. About what? Lila took a breath. About me. And you. And how we're connected. Sophia looked confused. We're friends. We are friends. But we're family. Like how you and Daddy are family. Sort of. Sophia, do you remember how we talked about how some children have birth mommies and other mommies who raise them? Sophia nodded. Well. Lila's voice shook. I'm your birth mommy. I'm the one who had you in my tummy before you were born. Sophia's eyes went wide. Really? So you're my real mommy. Mommy Isabel was your real mommy too, Dominic said quickly. She raised you and loved you. But yes. Lila is your birth mother. Sophia looked between them. Processing. Then she looked at Lila. Why did you go away? Lila's heart broke. Oh, sweetheart. I was very young when you were born. And I didn't have a home or a family or money to take care of you. I wanted you to have a better life than I could give you. So I made the hardest choice I've ever made. I let you go so someone else could love you the way you deserved. Did you love me? So much. Lila's tears spilled over. I loved you from the moment I knew you existed. And I've thought about you every single day for 4 years. Then why didn't you come back? Because I didn't know where you were. I thought you'd been adopted by a family I would never meet. I didn't know your daddy had you. I didn't know until a few weeks ago when I saw your birthday and where you were born, and I realized you were mine. Sophia was quiet, her little face serious. Then she asked the question Lila had been dreading. Are you going to leave again? No, Lila said. Never. If you want me to stay, I will stay for as long as you'll have me. Forever. Sophia thought about this. Then she climbed into Lila's lap and wrapped her arms around her neck. I'm glad you're my birth mommy, she whispered. I'm glad you came back. Lila held her and cried. Dominic put his arms around both of them. And for the first time since this whole impossible situation began, something felt right. They were broken and messy and complicated. But they were together. And maybe that was enough. Over the next few weeks something shifted. Sophia started calling Lila, Mom Lila, to distinguish her from Mommy Isabel. She talked about both of them easily. Naturally. Told her friends at preschool that she had 2 mommies. One in heaven and one here with her. The simplicity of a child's understanding was beautiful. Lila settled into her role. Not just as a nanny but as a mother. She made decisions about Sophia's care. Talked to her teachers. Took her to doctor's appointments. And Dominic let her. Supported her. Treated her like an equal partner. They developed a rhythm. A routine. And slowly the awkwardness between them faded. They talked more. Laughed more. Shared stories about Sophia. About their days. And something else started to grow. Something neither of them was ready to name. It started small. Dominic coming home early to have dinner with them. Helping with bedtime. Reading stories in funny voices that made Sophia giggle. Lila catching him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. One night after Sophia was asleep, they sat on the terrace like they often did. Talking. Sharing a bottle of wine. Can I ask you something? Lila said. Of course. That night. 4 years ago. Do you regret it? Dominic was quiet for a moment. I regret how I handled it. Leaving you alone. Not getting your name or number. Treating you like you didn't matter. He paused. But I don't regret the night itself. Because it gave me Sophia. And she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Even though it was a mistake. Was it? Dominic looked at her. Maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was fate. You believe in fate. I didn't used to. But then you walked into that restaurant. Out of millions of people in this city. And you stopped my daughter from crying. And now you're here. Living in my home. Raising our child. How is that not fate? Lila's heart raced. I don't know what this is. What we're doing. Neither do I. But I know I don't want it to stop. He reached over and took her hand. His touch was warm. Electric. Lila, he said. I think I'm falling for you. She should have pulled away. Should have said this was too complicated. Too fast. Too impossible. But she didn't. Because she was falling too. I think I'm falling for you too, she whispered. They leaned toward each other. Slowly. Giving each other time to pull back. But neither of them did. When their lips met it felt like coming home. Like something that had been missing clicking into place. They kissed on the terrace under the stars. And for that moment nothing else existed. Not the past. Not the complications. Just them. When they finally pulled apart they were both breathing hard. This is crazy, Lila said. Completely. We barely know each other. I know. But I want to. I want to know everything about you. What if it doesn't work? What if we mess this up and it affects Sophia? Then we'll be careful. We'll take it slow. But Lila. I can't pretend I don't feel this. I can't pretend you're just Sophia's nanny. You're so much more than that. What am I? You're the woman I can't stop thinking about. The woman who makes me laugh. Who makes me want to be better. Who gave me the greatest gift I've ever received even though it cost you everything. Lila's eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I. But we'll figure it out, together. That word again. Together. But this time it meant something different. Something more. They took it slow. Didn't tell Sophia yet. Didn't want to confuse her. But they spent more time together. Talked late into the night. Shared their histories. Their fears. Their dreams. Lila learned that Dominic loved old movies and terrible puns. That he played piano but only when no one was listening. That he was terrified of failing Sophia. Of not being enough. Dominic learned that Lila had never celebrated a real birthday. That she taught herself to read at age 6. That she dreamed of going to college someday and becoming a teacher. I'll pay for it, Dominic said one night. Whatever school you want. Whatever degree. I can't let you do that. Why not? Because you've already given me so much. Lila. You're raising my daughter. Our daughter. You're part of this family. Let me do this for you. She wanted to argue. But the truth was she wanted it so badly. Wanted the chance to finish what she'd started all those years ago. Okay, she said. Thank you. He kissed her forehead. You don't have to thank me. This is what families do. They support each other. Families. The word settled over her like a blanket. She had a family. But their happiness was fragile. And the world had a way of testing fragile things. It came in the form of a woman named Victoria Montgomery. Isabel's mother. Sophia's grandmother. She showed up unannounced one Saturday afternoon. Lila answered the door to find an elegant woman in her 60s with silver hair and cold eyes. Who are you? The woman demanded. I'm Lila. Sophia's nanny. Where is Dominic? He's at the office. Can I help you with something? Victoria pushed past her into the apartment. Looked around with obvious disdain. Sophia appeared from the hallway. Grammy. She ran to Victoria, who scooped her up. But her eyes stayed on Lila. We need to talk, Victoria said. Where Sophia can't hear. Lila's stomach twisted. Let me call Dominic. An hour later Dominic sat across from Victoria in his study. Lila stood near the door. Sophia was with Mrs. Chen in the kitchen. I want to know what's going on, Victoria said. Who is this woman and why is she living in my granddaughter's home? Lila is Sophia's nanny, Dominic said carefully. She's been helping us since Isabel died. A nanny who lives here. Who Sophia calls Mom. Victoria's eyes were sharp. Accusing. It's complicated, Dominic said. Then uncomplicate it for me. Dominic looked at Lila. Then back at Victoria. Lila is Sophia's biological mother. The silence was deafening. Victoria's face went white. Then red. What? She's the woman who gave birth to Sophia. The one who left her at the hospital. We didn't know. She took the nanny position not knowing who Sophia was. And when we found out we decided. We decided it was in Sophia's best interest for her to stay. You decided? Victoria said, her voice shaking with rage. You let the woman who abandoned my granddaughter move into your home. Into Isabel's home. Isabel isn't here anymore, Dominic said gently. Don't you dare. Don't you dare use my daughter's death to justify this. I'm not justifying anything. I'm telling you the truth. Sophia is happy. She's healing. And Lila is a big part of that. Victoria stood, paced the room. Then she turned to Lila. You have a lot of nerve, she said. Coming back into her life after you threw her away like garbage. I didn't throw her away, Lila said. Her voice shaking but firm. I gave her a chance. I was 19 years old with nothing. No money. No home. No support. I made an impossible choice because I loved her. Because I wanted her to have more than I could give. And now you want to take my daughter's place. I'm not taking anyone's place. Isabel will always be Sophia's mother. I'm just trying to be here for her now. In whatever way she needs. Victoria laughed bitterly. How noble. And how convenient that you landed in the home of a billionaire. That's enough, Dominic said. His voice hard. Lila is not here for my money. She didn't even know who I was when she took this job. I don't believe that. I don't care what you believe. Sophia is my daughter. And I decide who is part of her life. You're making a mistake, Victoria said. This woman is not who you think she is. She abandoned a baby. What kind of person does that? The kind of person who was desperate and alone and trying to do the right thing, Dominic said. And she's proven herself. Every single day. She loves Sophia. And Sophia loves her. That's all that matters. Victoria's eyes narrowed. We'll see about that. I'll fight you on this, Dominic. I'll take you to court if I have to. For what? You have no legal standing. I was Isabel's mother. I am Sophia's grandmother. I have rights. And I have full custody. Isabel's will was very clear. Victoria looked between them. Her face twisted with anger and grief. My daughter is barely cold in the ground and you've already replaced her. No one could ever replace Isabel, Dominic said. But we have to keep living. We have to find a way forward. And this is our way. Victoria grabbed her purse. This isn't over. She stormed out. The door slammed behind her. Lila sank into a chair. Her hands shaking. She's going to make trouble, Lila said. Let her try. What if she does take you to court? What if she has no case? Isabel's will was ironclad. And even if she did have a case, no judge would remove Sophia from a stable, loving home. But what if they think I'm not stable? I'm a former foster kid with no education and... Lila. Dominic knelt in front of her. Took her hands. You are one of the strongest, most capable people I've ever met. And you are Sophia's mother. Her biological mother. That counts for something. Does it? Legally I have no rights. I gave them up. Then we'll change that. We'll make it legal. We'll do whatever we need to do to protect our family. Our family. Lila's eyes filled with tears. Yes, Dominic said. Our family. He pulled her into his arms. And she let herself be held. Let herself believe that maybe they could survive this. Over the next few days they waited for the other shoe to drop. But nothing happened. No lawyers. No court summons. Just silence. Maybe Victoria had given up. Or maybe she was planning something bigger. Lila tried not to think about it. Tried to focus on Sophia. On the life they were building. One afternoon Lila took Sophia to the park. They were feeding the ducks when a woman approached. Lila recognized her immediately. Victoria. Hello Sophia, Victoria said. Her voice sweet. Grammy. Sophia ran to hug her. Victoria looked at Lila over Sophia's head. Her eyes cold. We need to talk, Victoria said. Not here. Not in front of. It will only take a moment. Victoria knelt down to Sophia's level. Sweetheart, why don't you go play on the swings for a minute? Grammy needs to talk to your nanny. Sophia looked at Lila, who nodded. Okay. But don't leave without me, Grammy. I won't, darling. Sophia ran off. Victoria stood. I've been thinking, she said. About our conversation. About you. Okay. And I've decided. I'm going to make you an offer. What kind of offer? Leave. Take a generous payment from me. Start over somewhere else. New city. New life. You deserve better than being caught in this mess. Lila stared at her. You're trying to pay me to abandon Sophia again. I'm trying to give you an out. Before this gets uglier. This isn't going to get ugly. Because there's nothing to fight about. I'm Sophia's mother. And I'm staying. You think Dominic loves you, Victoria said. Her voice mocking. He doesn't. He's just lonely. Grieving. You're a warm body. A replacement. When he moves on you'll be left with nothing. That's not true. Isn't it? You have no legal rights to that child. No claim. If Dominic decides he's done with you he can throw you out and you'll never see Sophia again. The words hit like a slap. Because there was truth in them. Lila had no legal protection. She was there at Dominic's mercy. I'm not leaving, Lila said. Her voice shaking but firm. Then you're a fool. Victoria walked away. Called Sophia over. Gave her a hug and left. Lila stood there. Her whole body trembling. That night she told Dominic about the encounter. His face darkened with anger. She offered you money to leave. Yes, she did. And you said no. Of course I said no. But Dominic. She's right about one thing. I have no legal rights. If you wanted me gone. I don't want you gone. But you could. You could decide tomorrow that this isn't working and I'd have no recourse. Dominic took her face in his hands. Listen to me. You are not going anywhere. You are Sophia's mother. And he paused. You're the woman I love. Lila's breath caught. What? I love you, Lila. I didn't plan to. Didn't expect to. But I do. And I'm not letting anyone take you away from me. From us. I love you too, Lila whispered. Then marry me. The world stopped. What? Marry me. Not because of Victoria. Not to give you legal protection. But because I want to spend my life with you. Because I want us to be a real family. Because I can't imagine my future without you in it. Lila's eyes filled with tears. Dominic, we've only known each other a few months. I know. But I also know that I've never been more sure of anything. You're it for me, Lila. You and Sophia. That's all I want. What about Isabel? Isabel would want me to be happy. Would want Sophia to be happy. And we are, with you. So yes. I'm asking you to marry me. No ring yet because this wasn't planned, but I'll get you one. The biggest one you want. Or a small one if that's more your style. Whatever you want. Yes, Lila said. Dominic stopped. Yes, I'll marry you, Lila said once again. He kissed her. Deep and passionate and full of promise. And when they pulled apart they were both laughing and crying at the same time. And when the officiant said you may kiss the bride. Dominic pulled her close and kissed her, like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Because she was. Victoria didn't come to the wedding. But she sent a gift. A silver picture frame with a photo of Isabel and Sophia. The note said, she will always be part of this family. Don't forget that. Lila didn't see it as a threat. She saw it as the truth. Isabel would always be part of them. And that was okay. There was room for all of them. The living and the dead. The past and the present. Love didn't have to be limited. It could grow. Expand. Include. That night after the reception, after Sophia was asleep, Lila and Dominic stood on the terrace of their hotel room, looking out at the city lights. How does it feel? Dominic asked. Being Mrs. Russo. Surreal. But good. Really good. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. I'm the luckiest man alive. I'm pretty lucky too. They stood in silence. Then Dominic said, I want to adopt you. What? Legally. I want to make sure you have full parental rights. That no one can ever question your place in Sophia's life. Lila turned to face him. You'd do that? Of course. You're her mother. It should be official. Tears streamed down Lila's face. Thank you. They started the adoption process the next week. It took months. Lawyers and paperwork and court appearances. But finally, just finally, a judge signed the papers. Lila was officially Sophia's mother. Legally. Permanently. Forever. She cried in the courtroom. Dominic held her. Sophia didn't fully understand what was happening, but she knew it was important. She held Lila's hand and said, "Now you're really my mommy. Forever and ever." Forever and ever, Lila repeated. 2 years later they were still figuring things out. Still learning how to be a family. But they were doing it together. Lila finished her degree. Graduated with honors. Got a job teaching at an elementary school. She loved it. Loved helping kids who reminded her of herself. Kids who needed someone to see them. To believe in them. Dominic cut back on work. Spent more time at home. More time with Sophia and Lila. They had family dinners every night. Went on vacations. Built traditions. Sophia thrived. She talked about Mommy Isabel with love and about Mom Lila with equal love. She understood that she was lucky. That she had more love than most kids. And she carried that knowledge with grace. One evening Lila sat on Sophia's bed tucking her in. Sophia looked up at her with those big brown eyes. "Mom Lila." "Yes, baby. I'm glad you came back. I'm glad you found me." Lila's throat tightened. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too. Do you think Mommy Isabel knows that you're here?" "I think she does. And I think she's happy about it." "Me too." Sophia yawned. Lila kissed her forehead. "Sweet dreams." "Love you, Mom." "Love you too," Lila said. Lila turned off the light and stood in the doorway for a moment. Watching her daughter sleep. Her daughter. The words still felt surreal. Dominic appeared beside her. Put his arm around her waist. "You okay?" he asked. "Better than okay." They walked to their bedroom together. Climbed into bed. Lila rested her head on his chest. Listened to his heartbeat. "Do you ever think about that night?" she asked. 4 years ago. How we met. Sometimes. Do you regret it? Not for a second. It gave me everything. Me too. Dominic tilted her face up. Kissed her softly. "I love you, Lila Russo. I love you too." They fell asleep tangled together. And Lila dreamed of the future. Of Sophia growing up. Of more children maybe. Of a life filled with love and laughter and second chances. She thought about the girl she'd been. Alone. Scared. Convinced she didn't deserve good things. And she thought about the woman she'd become. Strong. Loved. A wife. A mother. The journey hadn't been easy. But it had been worth it. Because sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the best things. Sometimes losing everything is how you find yourself. Sometimes the family you build is stronger than the one you lost. And sometimes broken people can put each other back together. Can create something beautiful from the pieces. Lila had spent her whole life looking for a place to belong. And she'd found it. In a corner booth at a restaurant. In the tears of a crying child. In the arms of a man who'd been a stranger. She'd found home. And she was never letting it go. Years later, when Sophia was 10, she came to Lila with a question. "Mom, why did you really come back?" Lila thought about it. About fate and coincidence and all the impossible things that had to align for her to walk into that restaurant on that specific day. I think I was always meant to find you. Maybe I got lost for a while. Made mistakes. Took wrong turns. But everything led me back to you. And I'd do it all again. Every hard thing. Every painful moment. If it meant ending up here with you." Sophia hugged her tight. "I'm glad you got lost. Because then you got found." Lila held her daughter and thought yes. Yes, exactly. She'd been lost. And now she was found. And that made all the difference. The sound that had cut through the restaurant that day. Sophia's crying. It had been more than grief. It had been a call. A summons. And Lila had answered. She'd walked toward the pain instead of away from it. And it had changed everything. That's what love does. It pulls you toward the hard things. The impossible things. And it asks you to be brave. To show up. To stay. Lila had run once. But she'd spent the rest of her life learning to stay. To be present. To fight. To love without conditions. And in the end, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that second chances are real, and that broken things can be beautiful, leave a comment below. Share what it meant to you. And if you believe in the power of forgiveness and love and finding your way home, hit that subscribe button. Because there are more stories to tell. more hearts to heal, more reminders that we're all just doing our best with the broken pieces we've been given. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, it's never too late to go back, to make things right, to choose love over fear. Your second chance might be waiting. You just have to be brave enough to take it.